Good afternoon. I am energized. After, I think, quite a lot of gap, I've gone back to an institute like this. And the energy that I'm getting from this room, from all your hopes, ambitions, is just amazing. So I will say, fellow students, to all of us, because I share these thoughts with my panel members that I think we are all here to learn. So thank you for the invite. Over the last 20 years, I have had the good fortune of having lived in 6 different countries and having had roles that have been global in scope, where inevitably change became a critical part of what I had to deliver. So I'd like to take you on a journey, if I could, in terms of sharing some of my experiences with you. And then I'd like to bring it back to all of you to see what does this mean for you as you step out of these hallowed grounds into what awaits you outside. In the last 15 or 20 years, globalization has basically meant two things. On the plus side, growth has either come through mergers and acquisitions or technological breakthroughs, which have meant that companies have had to rapidly change their workforce capabilities. On the flip side, a lack of a boundaryless world has essentially meant that economic disasters have hit us left, right, and center. In either case, if we don't navigate, if we don't take our responsibility, and by we here I mean the HR professionals, to be absolutely on top of how well can these decisions be stewarded through a global organization, we can foul up things really, really poorly. It's 2002, we had an example of a need where we needed to cross-skill all of us because the company that I was working was shifting from agrochemicals into biotechnology. And all across Asia Pacific, things were flowing very, very well. In China, we hit a wall. One of the peripheral resources at that point of time that we had chosen was this book called Who Moved My Cheese? The story of a mouse and how his cheese disappears one day and how he then has to learn to go find the cheese. It worked brilliantly across 17 different countries, but not in China. Till we realized that in China, at that point of time, giving that book to someone meant that they were going to lose their job. So, the interpretation of an action can be so different across different countries. I'll give you another example. In India, when we scold a child, we expect her to look down as a sign of respect to the parent and the fact that she's listening to what the parent is saying. In Denmark, where I lived last, the exact opposite is true. If the child doesn't look the parent in the eye, it is considered a sign of disrespect. Now you take the same technology that you want to implement in these two different markets and tell me how you want to find one common way of doing it. Resistance is normal. I found myself on my first day of college walking into the classroom, picking a seat at what I thought was random and never moving out of that chair for the 2 years. If a guest lecturer came along and said, "Why don't you change your seats?" none of us would really move. So such a simple thing is inertia or resistance if it is not managed well. Another example I'd like to share was how SAP got implemented across the Asia Pacific. In Australia, the ownership from the business managers came in a pub on a Friday afternoon over a few beers. In India, it took 1 year to make sure that the entire management was on board. And that's when the technical scripting started. Go live was a non-issue across the whole region. And then another example I can share with you is that it was almost a guarantee that every successive implementation was going to be a failure. More spectacular than the previous one, till the CEO actually had to go to the media and apologize for not being able to make payments for a few months. So if we don't manage change, and the human factor in that, that's at what is at risk. The HR role also shifts in not just what happens inside the organization. It changes to who works with you. Do you choose a vendor based on cost? And I refer to what somebody said earlier. Or do you take a look at the context and say, who can help me reduce my risk or get the benefits of this change faster? So as an HR person, one has to be able to sit along with the IT CIOs or the CFOs to make sure that the cultural navigation of a new technology becomes seamless and smooth. A poor decision, like in one of the companies I worked, led to a financial impact of about $150 million. But more importantly, it allowed competition to go ahead with better technology, and the catch-up took us 3 years. Then let's come to a scenario which is maybe all too familiar when the CEO gets fired. The dominant emotion in the organization is fear. At that point of time, the H in the HR needs to stand tall. Because the people who watch their colleagues leaving are the ones who actually ask themselves, this is how I will be treated when it's my turn. And more importantly, in some parts of the world, leaving somebody alone is actually respecting their sense of privacy. And in other parts of the world, that would be an absolute no-no. What I find common is that where there is a shared sense of identity, these journeys are easier. When the emotional contract gets broken, fracture sets in. And unlike a plaster that can heal the bone, an emotional fracture cannot be healed. So that's what is at risk. The change that stays when the initiator of that change is gone is the change that transforms. The rest is like a rubber band. You let the pressure go and things go back to how they were. The challenge then is to have an organization where the shared sense is able to both absorb and heal. To switch tracks, let me go to cricket. Sunil Gavaskar was talking recently about Virat Kohli's batting. And he said that our fellow friend was scoring and getting out cheaply. But he had beautiful shots in each of those innings. Something happened and Mr. Kohli decided to check his instinct to try and hit every ball for a shot. What then results is a performance not last night, but maybe a few nights ago, when he just demolished everything that stood in his way. I find that companies that learn to check their natural preferences and do not see doing things differently either as a necessary evil. So I have to comply with the US visa norms, or a loss of control. How can I let this person run this particular business? This then automatically results in a leadership that looks, acts and chooses differently. And that leadership will continue to reinforce the same identity that they all share. Those organizations are the ones I find that successfully navigate the changes that continuously hit us. So what does this all mean to you? I'd like to say, be prepared for extreme highs when the congruence between who you are and what your organization is a match. And be prepared for absolute lows when it is not. Mergers and acquisitions are a certainty. So at some point of time, you'll find yourself in a situation one day, where the company ownership changes overnight. And that's when your own abilities come into play in terms of how well can you adapt to that change. Another example I had was one evening I found myself at a dinner table. Around us was somebody from South Africa, an English woman, an Aussie, a Kiwi and a Pakistani. And in today's context, think about talking about maybe a Graham Swan versus a Saeed Ajmal's bowling at that table for yourself. And as you discuss cricket, you have a three-course meal that looks completely strange, but possibly tastes heavenly. You can either come back from that experience feeling exhilarated, or you can come back and say, absolutely no, no. In either case, we learn about ourselves. What I look forward to then is meeting all of you a few years later, because I believe India is coming into its own. And I think the responsibility of global leadership will soon be upon people like you. So, as a global leader, seasoned by many experiences like this cricket conversation I made up for you, if you are the host to that meeting with the power to set the context, would you create something that is productive for all the different people in that room? Or would you just play to your own preference?